Have you ever been home alone and felt like you weren't truly by yourself? That chilling sensation of being watched, even when there's no one there. Tonight's story is about that very feeling, a feeling that turned all too real for a young girl named Lily. It was one of those gloomy, rainy evenings where the world outside seems to dissolve into gray sheets of water. 10-year-old Lily was home alone, a rare occasion that usually felt like an adventure. Her parents were out for the evening, and her older brother, Jake, was at a friend's house. The rhythmic drumming of rain against the window pane was the only sound, a soothing backdrop to the world she was building with her toys on the floor of her bedroom. She was lost in her own imagination, creating dialogues for her dolls and action figures. When a flicker of movement outside her window caught her eye, she glanced up, her brow furrowing slightly. Through the rain-streaked glass, she saw a figure. It was tall and indistinct, a dark, motionless silhouette standing near the old oak tree at the edge of their yard. At first, Lily wasn't scared. It was probably just a neighbor walking their dog, or someone who had taken a wrong turn and was looking for directions. She shrugged, assuming they would move on any second. She turned her attention back to her toys, trying to recapture the story she'd been weaving. But a strange unease began to creep in. It was a primal instinct, that little voice in the back of your head that tells you something isn't right. After a few minutes, she couldn't resist looking again. Her heart gave a little jolt. The figure was still there. It hadn't moved an inch. The rain was coming down harder now, blurring the edges of the world, but the shape remained, a stark, unmoving presence in the downpour. Why would anyone just stand in the pouring rain like that? Lily pushed her toys aside and crawled closer to the window, peering out from behind the curtain. The figure was just standing there. Its form was vague, more like a shadow than a person, but it was undeniably there. A cold knot of fear began to tighten in her stomach. She told herself it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. The rain and the dim light could make anything look strange. She decided to ignore it a little test. She'd play for 10 more minutes, and when she looked back, it would be gone. She forced herself to focus on her dolls, moving them around, but her mind wasn't in it. Every creak of the old house, every gust of wind that rattled the windows, made air jump. The 10 minutes felt like an hour. Her hands were clammy. Finally, she took a deep breath and looked back at the window. The knot in her stomach turned to ice. The figure was still there, but it wasn't in the same spot. It ad mobith. It was closer now, standing by the swing set in the middle of the yard. Her blood ran cold. It hadn't just moved. It had moved when she wasn't looking. A terrifying thought struck her. What if it only moved when she wasn't watching, like a twisted game of red light, green light? Her heart hammered against her ribs. She stared at it, unblinking, trying to will it to move, to prove it was a real person who would eventually just walk away. But as long as her eyes were fixed on it, the figure remained perfectly still, a dark statue in the rain-swept yard. She tried to rationalize. Maybe it was just a strange shadow cast by the neighbor's porch light. Maybe it was a weirdly shaped bush that she'd never noticed before. She squeezed her eyes shut for a few seconds and then snapped them open. It had moved again. It was now at the edge of the patio, just a few feet from the back door. The shadowy form was more defined now, though still featureless. It was tall and slender, and she could almost feel its presence, its silent, patient waiting. This was no trick of the light. This was real. Panic seized her. She scrambled away from the window, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. She had to get away from the window, away from its sight. She dropped to the floor and crawled out of her room, her body trembling uncontrollably. The house, which had felt so cozy and safe just an hour ago, now felt like a trap. Every shadow seemed to stretch and twist, every noise amplified into a threat. She stayed low, crawling down the hallway toward the living room. The front of the house felt safer, further away from the thing in the backyard. She huddled behind the big armchair, clutching a cushion to her chest as if it were a shield. She could hear the rain lashing against the windows, and in her mind, she pictured the figure standing out there, waiting. What did it want? Why was it here? Minutes stretched into an eternity. The silence in the house was deafening, broken only by her own ragged breathing and the storm outside. She thought about calling the police, but what would she say? That there's a shadow in her yard. They'd think she was a prank caller, just a scared kid. Then She remembered Jake, her older brother. He was only a few blocks away. He would believe her. He had to. Her hands shaking, she fumbled for the cordless phone on the end table. Her fingers felt clumsy and numb as she punched in his number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. "Please pick up. Please pick up," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "Hello." Jake's voice, casual and unconcerned, was the most comforting sound she had ever heard. "Jake," she sobbed, her voice a choked whisper. "Jake, you have to come home. Now." "Whoa, Lily, what's wrong?" "You sound terrified." "There's someone in the backyard," she cried, struggling to get the words out. "There's a man, or something, and he's just standing there, watching the house. He keeps getting closer." There was a pause on the other end. "Lily, are you sure?" "It's probably just a shadow or something. It's raining really hard." "No, it's real. I saw it," she insisted, her voice rising with hysteria. "It moves when I'm not looking. Jake, please, I'm so scared. Please come home." The genuine terror in her voice must have cut through. Okay, calm down," Jake said, his tone shifting from skeptical to serious. "I'm on my way. Lock the doors and stay away from the windows. Don't look outside. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Just stay on the phone with me." Keeping Jake on the line was a lifeline. She listened to him talking to his friends, the sounds of them getting their jackets, the opening and closing of a door. He kept talking to her, asking her what she was doing, telling her to stay calm, that he was running. His voice was a tether to reality in a world that had suddenly become a nightmare. She remained huddled behind the chair, her eyes screwed shut, trying not to imagine the figure stepping onto the porch, trying the back door handle. The 5 minutes Jake promised felt like a lifetime. Then, finally, she heard the sound of a key in the front door lock. The door swung open and Jake burst in, rain-soaked and breathless. "Lily, where are you?" She scrambled out from behind the chair and ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist and burying her face in his wet jacket. He held her tight. "It's okay. I'm here. It's okay. Where did you see it?" "The backyard," she whimpered, pointing with a trembling hand toward the back of the house, by the patio door. Jake's expression was grim. He gently pushed her behind him. "Stay here." He walked cautiously towards the glass doors that led to the patio. He peered out into the dark, rainy night, his eyes scanning every corner of the yard. Lily held her breath, her heart pounding. After a long moment, Jake turned back to her, his face puzzled. "Lily, there's nothing out there. The yard's empty." "No," she said, shaking her head. "It was there. I swear it was." She crept forward and peeked around him. A was right. The yard was empty. The swing set was still. The old oak tree stood silent. There was no one there. A wave of confusion washed over her fear. Had she imagined it all? Was it just the storm and being alone that had spooked her so badly? Jake must have seen the doubt and exhaustion on her face. He put an arm around her. "It's okay. You were scared." It's easy to see things in a storm like this. He was trying to be comforting, but Lily knew what she saw. It had felt too real. As Jake was leading her toward the kitchen to get her a glass of water, he suddenly stopped. He was staring at the floor by the back door. "What is it?" Lily asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jake didn't answer. He just pointed. There, on the clean linoleum floor, just inside the doorway, were a series of wet, muddy footprints. They weren't from his shoes or her slippers. They were large, barefoot-shaped prints, caked in mud, leading from the edge of the patio door and stopping abruptly in the middle of the kitchen floor, as if whoever made them had stood there for a moment, and then simply vanished. The house was silent again, but this time it was a heavy, terrifying silence. The rain still beat against the windows, but it was no longer a comforting sound. It was the sound of a world that held things, that stood in the rain, that watched from the dark, that moved when you weren't looking, and that could, somehow, leave their mark inside your home without ever opening a door. They never found out who or what was in their yard that night, but Lily never forgot the window watcher, and she never felt truly safe when she was home alone again. Thanks so much for watching. If this story sent a chill down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more Tales from the Dark. Let us know in the comments if you've ever had a creepy watcher experience of your own. Stay safe, and see you in the next video. Imagine being home alone for the very first time. The sun has set, the house is quiet, and the only sounds are the hum of the refrigerator and the scratching of your own pen on paper. This was the scene for 10-year-old Leo, who was trying his best to feel grown up while tackling his math homework in the living room. His parents had trusted him just for a couple of hours. He felt a surge of pride mixed with a tiny, undeniable flutter of nervousness. The house, usually so familiar and comforting, seemed vast and filled with unfamiliar shadows in the evening light. He had the TV on low, playing some old cartoon, just for the background noise, to make the silence less silent. Around 7 o'clock, just as he was puzzling over a particularly tricky long division problem, a sound cut through the quiet. A soft but distinct asterisk. Click. Asterisk. From the front door. It wasn't the sound of a key turning, but more like the latch catching and then releasing, as if someone had gently tried the handle from the outside, expecting it to be unlocked. Leo froze, his pencil hovering over the paper. His heart started a frantic rhythm against his ribs. It was probably just the house settling, he told himself. Or maybe the wind, but there was no wind tonight. The air was unnervingly still. He held his breath, listening, every nerve ending on high alert. Silence. After what felt like an eternity, he shakily reached for his phone and dialed his mom. "Hey, sweetie, everything okay?" His mom's cheerful voice came through the speaker. Leo let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "Mom, are you home?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "No, honey, I'm still at work. I'll be leaving in about an hour." "Why? Is something wrong?" The casualness in her voice was both reassuring and terrifying. If it wasn't her, who was it? No, I thought I heard something," he stammered. "Probably just the house, making noises, honey. You know how it creaks. Make sure the door is locked, okay? I'll be home before you know it." He promised he would and hung up, but his mom's words did little to calm the storm brewing inside him. He tiptoed to the front door, his bare feet cold against the hardwood floor. His hand trembled as he reached for the deadbolt. It was locked. He checked the chain lock too. It was securely in its track. Everything was as it should be. He peered through the peephole, his eye pressed against the cool metal. The porch light cast a pale, yellow circle on the empty steps. There was no one there, just the familiar shape of the potted fern and the welcome mat. He let out a shaky sigh of relief. Maybe his mom was right. It was just his imagination, amplified by the emptiness of the house. He felt a little silly for panicking. Leo returned to the couch, but the focus he had on his homework was completely gone. The numbers on the page swam before his eyes. Every tiny creak of the floorboards, every distant car horn, made him jump. He tried to get back into the rhythm of his work, but his ears were strained, listening for that sound again. And then it came. This time, it wasn't a soft click. It was a loud, aggressive rattling of the doorknob. Asterisk gigalgi. Gigalgi galgi. Asterisk. It sounded like someone was impatiently, forcefully trying to get in, testing the lock with a violent energy that sent a bolt of pure ice through Leo's veins. This was not the wind. This was not the house settling. This was real panic, cold and sharp, seized him. He didn't even think. He scrambled off the couch, his homework scattering across the floor, and sprinted down the hallway to his bedroom. He slammed the door shut, his fingers fumbling with the small, push-button lock on the knob until it clicked into place. He backed away from the door, his eyes wide, and pressed himself into the farthest corner of his room, trying to make himself as small as possible. He could hear his own ragged breathing, loud and harsh in the sudden silence. The rattling at the front door had stopped, but that was almost worse. Where did they go? Were they walking around the house now, checking windows? His mind raced. He had to call for help. His mom was still at work, too far away. His dad His dad's office was closer. With shaking hands, he dialed his dad's number. "Dad," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Leo? What's wrong? You sound terrified." His dad's voice was instantly serious. "Dad, there's someone trying to get into the house." They were shaking the front door. Sobs started to well up in his throat, but he choked them back. He needed to be clear. "I'm in my room. The door is locked." "Okay, son, listen to me," his dad said, his voice calm but firm, a tone that always made Leo feel safer. "Stay in your room. Don't make a sound. I'm leaving right now. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't open the door for anyone but me. You hear me? Only me." Leo nodded, even though his dad couldn't see him. "Okay," he whispered back. The 10 minutes that followed were the longest of his life. He sat on the floor, his knees pulled up to his chest, his phone clutched in his sweaty palm. He listened. The house was silent again, a dead, watchful silence that felt heavy and threatening. He imagined someone creeping through the living room, their footsteps muffled by the carpet. He imagined a face appearing at his bedroom window. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to block out the horrifying images his own mind was creating. Every second stretched into an hour. He counted them down. 600 seconds. 599. Then he heard a new sound. A faint, rhythmic scratching. Asterisk, scrape. 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 Asterisk. It was coming from the front door again. It wasn't the sound of a key. It was a dry, rasping sound, like fingernails or maybe something sharper, being dragged slowly and deliberately down the wood. The sound was methodical, patient, and it made the hair on his arms stand on end. Who would do that? Why? It was a sound of pure malice, of someone not just wanting to get in, but wanting to leave a mark, to terrorize. The scratching went on and on, a torturous soundtrack to his waiting. He buried his face in his knees, trying to block it out, his heart pounding a desperate, painful rhythm. Finally, he heard the screech of tires in the driveway, followed by a car door slamming. "Leo, it's me. It's Dad." His father's voice boomed from outside, a lighthouse in his sea of fear. A moment later, he heard the key in the lock, the deadbolt turning, and the front door opening. Heavy, urgent footsteps pounded through the house. "Leo, where are you in here?" Leo cried out, his voice hoarse. The knob on his bedroom door rattled, and then his dad's voice. "Son, open the door." Leo scrambled to his feet, his legs feeling like jelly, and unlocked his bedroom door. He threw it open and launched himself into his father's arms, finally letting the sobs break free. His dad held him tight, murmuring words of comfort. After a few moments, his dad gently pulled away. "Let's go look," he said, his face grim. He kept a protective arm around Leo's shoulders as they walked back to the living room. Everything looked normal at first. The TV was still playing quietly. His math book was opened on the floor, but as they approached the front door, they both stopped dead. The outside of the door, a deep forest green, was covered in long, deep gouges. They weren't random. They were angry, frantic scratch marks, centered around the doorknob and the lock, splintering the wood. It looked as if a wild animal had been trying to claw its way in. But these weren't claw marks. They were too thin, too precise. They looked almost like someone had used a nail, or a rock, or their own fingernails, scraping and scraping with a desperate, terrifying intensity. They never found out who was at the door that night. The police found nothing. But Leo never forgot the sound of the scratching and the deep, angry marks left behind on the locked door. Thank you for watching. If this story sent a chill down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of unexplained horror. Don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss a new video. Stay safe out there. And always, always double-check your locks. Picture this: a cozy suburban house on a quiet weekend. Inside, 12-year-old Maya is enjoying the rare treat of having the entire place to herself. Her parents are away, and the silence is a welcome friend. She's sprawled on the living room couch, half watching a movie, half scrolling through her phone. Suddenly, the landline on the end table shrieks to life, its shrill ring cutting through the quiet afternoon. Maya glances at the caller ID. Unknown number, probably a telemarketer. She lets it ring, but the persistence is annoying. Finally, she sighs, picks up the receiver, and says a hesitant, "Hello." Silence. Then, a voice. It's quiet, raspy, and distorted, like it's being passed through a strange filter. It whispers a single, chilling phrase. "I can see you." A shiver crawls down Maya's spine, but she quickly shakes it off. It has to be a prank. One of her friends, probably Kevin, is using a voice changer app. "Very funny, Kevin," she says, trying to sound annoyed rather than scared. "You're not clever." She slams the phone down, her heart thumping a little faster than before. She tries to go back to her movie, but the mood is broken. The shadows in the corners of the room seem a little deeper now. The house, once a comforting sanctuary, feels vast and empty. Less than 5 minutes later, the phone rings again. Unknown number. Her hand trembles as she picks it up. "Look, this isn't funny anymore," she says, her voice wavering. The same distorted whisper answers, but this time it's different. It's clearer, as if the person is closer. "I like your red sweater." Maya freezes. She looks down at her own clothes. She, is wearing a red sweater, a gift from her grandmother. How could anyone know that? It's not like she posted it online. A wave of pure cold fear washes over her. This isn't Kevin. This isn't a prank. She hangs up, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She scrambles off the couch and rushes to the front window, peering through the blinds. The street is empty. No suspicious cars. No one hiding in the bushes. Everything looks normal, which somehow makes it even scarier. Then, the phone rings a third time. She stares at it, her mind racing. Should she answer? Should she ignore it? The ringing feels like a physical assault, each chime a hammer blow against her nerves. Finally, with a shaking hand, she snatches the receiver. She doesn't say anything, just listens. "You look scared," the voice whispers, and now there's a hint of amusement in it. "You just checked the front window, but I'm not out there." A pause. "You should check the back door." "Did you remember to lock it?" Panic explodes in her chest. She drops the phone, the receiver clattering against the floor, the distorted voice still whispering from the earpiece. She hadn't checked the back door. Her parents always told her to, but she had forgotten in her excitement to have the house to herself. She sprints through the kitchen, her feet pounding on the linoleum. The back door is, to her horror, slightly ajar. A cool breeze drifts in, carrying the scent of cut grass and something else. Something metallic and unpleasant. She slams the door shut and fumbles with the deadbolt, her fingers clumsy with terror. With the door secured, she leans against it, trying to catch her breath, trying to think. The landline starts ringing again. She can hear it from the kitchen, a relentless, mocking summons. She can't stay here. She isn't safe. Grabbing her cell phone from her pocket, she dials 911, her thumb barely able to hit the right numbers. But as she brings the phone to her ear, she hears nothing. No dial tone, no connection. Just dead, digital silence. She tries again. Nothing. The signal bars are gone. And then her cell phone screen lights up. An incoming call. Unknown number. She flings the phone across the room as if it's on fire. It clatters against the wall and falls to the floor, the screen still glowing ominously. She has to get out. Now. Without grabbing her shoes or a jacket, Maya unbolts the front door and bursts out of the house. She runs, not looking back, her bare feet slapping against the cold pavement. She doesn't stop until she's hammering on the door of her next-door neighbor, Mrs. Gable. Wente. Keen elderly woman opens the door and sees the hysterical, sobbing girl on her doorstep. She immediately pulls her inside. Maya collapses into her arms, babbling about the calls, the voice, the back door. Mrs. Gable, though confused, sees the genuine terror in Maya's eyes and calls the police. Within minutes, 2 police officers arrive. They listen patiently to Maya's frantic story. Their expressions, a mixture of concern and skepticism. One officer stays with Maya and Mrs. Gable, while the other goes to investigate her house. After what feels like an eternity, the officer returns. His face is pale. He confirms the back door was unlocked when he got there, but he found no one inside. No signs of a break-in, nothing out of place, except for the landline receiver lying on the living room floor. He had put it back on the hook. The other officer gets on his radio to have the number traced. They all wait in tense silence. Maya sits wrapped in a blanket, shivering, even though the house is warm. Finally, the officer's radio crackles. The dispatch operator's voice comes through, sounding strangely hesitant. "Sir," the operator says, "we've traced the number." "But there has to be some mistake." "What is it?" the officer asks. The line was registered to the house next door to the caller's location. Maya's blood runs cold. The house next door was Mrs. Gable's house. But Mrs. Gable was right here. She hadn't made any calls. "And sir," the operator continues, her voice dropping lower, "that's not all. According to the phone company's records, that phone line was disconnected 5 years ago, after the previous owner passed away." A profound silence fills the room. The officer looks from his radio to Maya, then to Mrs. Gable, his professional composure completely gone. If the line was disconnected, who was calling? And more importantly, where was the call coming from? The mystery was never solved. Maya's parents came home to a daughter who would never be comfortable being home alone again, forever haunted by the voice on the dead line. The story became a local legend, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying threats are the ones that defy all logic. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more chilling tales. See you next time. Imagine you're 12 years old, completely absorbed in your favorite video game. Your parents are out for the evening, but you're not worried. It's a familiar routine. You're home, you're safe, and you're about to beat the final boss. The living room is dim, lit only by the flickering glow of the television screen. You're focused, your thumbs moving furiously over the controller. Then, out of the corner of your eye, a flicker of movement, not on the screen, but outside. You pause the game, the sudden silence of the room feeling heavy. You turn your head towards the big sliding glass door that leads to the backyard. And that's when you see him, a man. He's crouching by the rose bushes near the fence, holding a pair of shears. But he's not really trimming them. He's just snipping at the air, his movements jerky and unnatural. The weirdest part, you don't recognize him. He's not one of your neighbors. Your family doesn't have a gardener. A cold knot of dread begins to form in your stomach. Why is a stranger in your backyard? Why is he pretending to do yard work? Every instinct in your young mind is screaming that something is terribly, terribly wrong. Your heart starts hammering against your ribs. You slowly, carefully, slide off the couch, trying not to make a sound. You keep your eyes locked on the man, who is still making those strange, empty cuts with the shears. He hasn't seen you. Not yet. You grab your phone from the coffee table, your fingers fumbling with the screen. You need to call your dad now. You creep away from the glass door, your back pressing against the cool wall, and duck into the hallway where the man can't see you. Your hands are shaking so badly you misdialed twice. Finally, you get the number right. The phone rings, each ring echoing the frantic beat of your heart. 1 ring. 2 rings. "Come on, Dad, pick up." Finally, you hear his voice. "Hey, buddy, what's up?" You can barely get the words out. Your voice a choked whisper. "Dad, there's a man in the backyard." Your dad's tone shifts instantly from casual to serious. "What man? Where are you?" he asks, his voice low and urgent. "I'm in the hallway." "He's by the bush. I don't know who he is." You can hear your mom in the background asking what's wrong. Your dad's voice is calm, but firm. It's the voice he uses when something is important. "Okay, listen to me. Very carefully. Do not let him see you. Go to the front door and lock it. Then go to the back door and lock that one too. Check every single window. Do it now, and do it quietly." He stays on the line, his voice a comforting presence in the terrifying silence of your house. You tiptoe to the front door. Click. Locked. You move to the kitchen, your eyes darting towards the backyard. The man is still there. Click. The back door is locked. You race through the house, a silent ghost, securing every window latch you can find. Okay, Dad. Everything's locked. You're hiding in the laundry room now, the smallest, most windowless room in the house. Good. Now stay on the phone with me. Don't hang up for any reason. We're on our way. We're turning around right now. You can hear the car engine in the background of the call, the sound of them pulling a U-turn. They're coming. Relief washes over you, but it's immediately replaced by a fresh wave of fear. They're still minutes away, and the man is still right outside. Your dad keeps talking to you, asking you about your game, about school, anything to keep your mind occupied. But you can't focus. All you can hear is the blood pounding in your ears. Against your dad's advice, a morbid curiosity takes over. You have to see, you have to know what he's doing. You creep back into the living room, staying low to the ground, and peek through a tiny gap in the vertical blinds. Your blood runs cold. The man isn't by the bushes anymore. He's standing right on your patio, just a few feet from the glass door. He's not pretending to trim anything now. He's just standing there, staring. He's looking directly at the house, his eyes scanning the windows. Can he see you? You duck your head back, your heart feeling like it's going to explode. Did he see you move? You hold your breath, listening. Silence. After what feels like an eternity, you dare to peek again. He's still there, motionless, just watching. His face is blank, expressionless, which is somehow more terrifying than if he were angry or menacing. He's just waiting. For what? For you to make a mistake. For you to open the door. The video game on the TV is still paused, a bright, cheerful scene, frozen in time. A stark contrast to the nightmare unfolding just a few feet away. You retreat back to your hiding spot, whispering updates to your dad. He's on the patio now. He's just looking at the house. Your dad's voice remains steady, a lifeline in the darkness. It's okay, buddy. Just stay hidden. We're almost there. The police are on their way too. The police. The thought is both terrifying and reassuring. For the next 20 minutes, you sit huddled in the laundry room, listening. 20 minutes. It felt like 20 years. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside sends a jolt of panic through you. Is he trying to get in? Is he at a window? Then you hear it. The sound of a car engine, not your parents' car, but another one driving down your street. You crawl back to your peephole in the living room. As the headlights sweep across your lawn, the man on the patio finally moves. He turns his head, looks towards the street, and then, without any hurry, he walks calmly to the side gate, slips through it, and disappears into the darkness. Just like that, he's gone. A few minutes later, your parents' car screeches into the driveway, followed closely by a police car. Your dad bursts through the front door, his face pale with worry. He pulls you into a hug that almost cracks your ribs, and you finally let yourself cry, the fear and tension of the last half hour pouring out of you. The police sweep the yard with flashlights, but the man is long gone. There's no sign of him. You tell him everything. The fake trimming, the staring, the way he just vanished. It feels like a bad dream. The officers are kind, but they say there's not much they can do. He didn't break in. He didn't technically do anything illegal. It's your word against the empty night. It leaves you feeling hollow and unseen. Was it all in your head? But then, the next morning, as the sun shines brightly on what was a scene of terror, your dad makes a chilling discovery. He goes outside to check the yard one more time. He follows the path the man took. There are muddy footprints in the flower bed, leading from the side gate. And those footprints don't just go to the bushes. They lead directly to the sliding glass door. And right there, on the metal frame of the door, are fresh scratches and pry marks near the lock. He hadn't just been watching. While you were on the phone with your dad, while you were hiding, that man had been silently, methodically, trying to open the door. He was trying to get in. He was feet away from you, separated only by a thin pane of glass and a simple lock. The realization hits you like a physical blow. If you hadn't noticed him, if you hadn't called your dad, if you hadn't locked that door, the story would have had a very different and much darker ending. You never saw the man again, but for years, you couldn't look at that sliding glass door without feeling a chill run down your spine. The backyard stranger, a ghost who was all too real. Thanks for watching. If you have a story you'd like to share, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more true, scary stories. Stay safe out there.